All right.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Suzanne McAllister with the Post Animal Use World Project, or PAW Project, Vegan Spirituality Group of Philadelphia, and Conversations with a Friendly Vegan. And today is February 12th, 2025. I believe Abraham Lincoln was born in 1809 on this date. So it's an auspicious date because he was all about justice and had a big heart. Anyway, I am speaking with Lindsay Allen this morning, who I am just meeting for the first time. And I heard about Lindsay from her aunt, who is a good friend of mine and a pickleball player who I play with frequently. And she talked to me about what her niece is doing and how proud she is of what Lindsay is doing. And so I asked Lindsay if she'd be willing to do this interview, and she graciously accepted. So thank you, Lindsay, for making time. I
Thank
appreciate
you for
it.
inviting me. This is such a cool experience, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Good. And I believe you are in Puerto Rico.
Yes, currently, yes.
Okay. And you have just finished volunteering with the Tenerife Horse Rescue.
Yes, I
Is that
spent two
right?
months there. Yep.
And truth be told, I had heard about Tenerife, in passing over the years. I know about the Canary Islands, but I had to look it up on the map. I didn't know where it was. It's off the coast of Western Africa, if I have that right.
Yes.
Anyway, so before we talk about this most recent adventure of yours, I'd like to learn a little bit about you, where you grew up, and how you became interested in volunteering at a sanctuary halfway around the world.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in Michigan called Jackson, and it's always been a bit of a rougher kind of city to grow up in. There's a lot of violence, a lot of stuff. So I always knew I wanted to get out of Jackson. And I always loved traveling, but I didn't really know what that looked like, how I could make it happen. Um, and so I started kind of my journey into figuring out traveling opportunities where you could volunteer basically your time in exchange for stay and food or things like that. And so I was always super curious about it, but I never really found any places that I thought like matched or that I thought would be a good fit. And then last year, my grandma and I went on vacation to Tenerife and we came across this horse rescue. And so we just went for like a day tour there. And while I was there, I just fell in love with the place. It was beautiful. The people were amazing. I just like aligned with everything that I had seen and wanted out of kind of an animal sanctuary, because I think you go to a lot of animal sanctuaries and they don't actually live up to what their name says. You know, they say that they're
Mm,
this beautiful place, but there's a lot of abuse going on or neglect going on, or it's more of
mm.
like a pay to play and they're using the animals as props. But you could just tell that everyone's heart was genuinely in it here. And at the time, I didn't know that they had a volunteer program, but I ended up staying in touch with them. And then I found out about their volunteer program. So then that's how I ended up coming back a year later and spending 2 months there.
Wow. Well, that's a really interesting story, both that you decided I want to get out of my hometown. I know Jackson, by the way. I lived in Michigan for 4 years. I don't know it well, but I know of it. Um, and but that you weren't quite sure what do I want to do, and that, like most things in life, we are going about our business and then we come in contact with something or someone, and then
Yeah.
that led you to this horse rescue sanctuary. Um, so now that you've been there and you spent the 2 months, what was it like?
It was such a life-changing experience. I think I've been blessed throughout my life to have so many like crazy cool adventures, and like I've been very lucky at my young age to travel a lot, to put myself in really cool experiences. But this place was just life-changing, from the people to the mission to the way they've set it up, I mean, every aspect of it just makes you step back and think of things on a bigger scale. It's the biggest community project I've ever been in, and I've never lived somewhere where, you're in a group of 40, 50 people who are all working towards the same
Mm.
goal. And that's such a beautiful thing. And I think that brings the project even further, as opposed to, like, we're all there every day seeing everything, the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly. We see when the animals come in sick, and then we see them get better.
Mm.
We see even just our fellow people when the people working on the sanctuary are having bad days or good days. We're just all there for each other. And it's just this incredibly, like, you can't leave the place without feeling like your family to everyone there.
The animals and the people.
Animals and the people. Even so, there's different teams. There's the horse team, there's the small animal team, there's a construction team, there's a kitchen team. um and so, depending on what team you are, you're a little bit more involved with certain people. But even the people that, I didn't work with every day, I was super close with. And even the people that didn't work with the animals were so loving and caring to the animals. So it was a beautiful, just like, full circle thing to see.
So which team were you on and what was a typical day like?
Yeah, so I was on the horse team, and a typical day. So there's three shifts on the horse team. There's morning shift, just like the day shift, and then evening shift. And so for 90% of the time I was there, I was on the day shift. So 8:30 is when our day starts, and from 8:30 to 9, you're usually cleaning up the paddock. So cleaning up poo, cleaning up extra hay that was left around, kind of that random stuff. Um, 9 o'clock you start your feeding, so that's breakfast feeding. So all the horses get like wet food, and that's also when you do grooming. You pick hoofs, you
Hmm.
wipe eyes. You're kind of just doing like a grooming, making the horses look pretty, getting all the dust and hay off of them. And then from usually in the morning we do like one walk, maybe two walks. So we would take all the horses out on walks. Since all the horses uh, were neglected or abused or came from rough circumstances, none of them are rideable anymore. Most of them just need a little bit of exercise. So luckily, since we were kind of up in the mountains, or whatever you want to call it, we had tons of cool paths and trails to take them on. So usually
Nice.
like, maybe 4 or 5 horses at a time get to go on a walk, hang out. And then at 11 o'clock, the people get a break and we get to eat lunch. So we have a half-hour lunch, which is cooked by the kitchen crew, amazing crew, delicious food, such a cool thing. We all sit in a community space, get to talk about our day. Like, it's just a beautiful opportunity. And then 11:30 to 2:30 are more walks, more training. Some of the horses get individual trainings, and one-on-one time. And then at 2:30 we get lunch, or yeah, lunch. I always called it second lunch because
Yeah.
weird part of the day, but lunch. And then again, you get your food, you get your community time. And then the rest of the day is kind of yours to, if you want to go play with the animals, you can. If you want to hang out with the people, you can. Usually we had community time where we could, just get together, all hang out. There's always dogs and cats running around everywhere. So yeah, it was really cool.
Wow, that sounds. And were there any surprises for you?
Of course. I think mostly good surprises. I think I was surprised at how well I acclimated into it. It was a rougher kind of living, we're all living in this sanctuary where we are, they are very eco-driven. They want to be very, very eco-driven. So, when you're showering, you're turning the water off in between. It's not like in the
Mhm.
States where you get to have the water on the whole time. Or our food is donated from grocery stores. So every week your food could vary. You don't know what you're going to get. Um, but I think there's a beauty in that. And I think the way we all kind of just learn to live that way, and kind of it takes a lot of the, what's the word I'm looking for? It takes the burden off of your shoulders when you can just live and you don't have to think about the money, you don't have to think about the other
Hmm.
things. I think another surprising thing for me was just how quickly animals can turn around when they have love and they're
Hmm.
given love. I think, we saw animals, especially there was a little horse that came in a couple weeks before I left. And the first day he was there, I mean, we couldn't touch him, we couldn't get near him. If you walked near him, he ran to the other side of the paddock, like, wanted absolutely nothing to do with humans. And then he was maybe there 3 weeks until I left. And by the time we left, I could go up and pet him on the nose. I could, we could put a harness on him for walks. Like, it's just so beautiful seeing these animals come in. I mean, it's not beautiful seeing them come in bad
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
but watching them turn around is it was such a beautiful, beautiful experience to see.
And to feel like you're part of that. You're part
Yes, it's
of,
watch.
this animal that clearly had been abused or neglected, probably abused if he was that afraid
Yeah,
of
yeah, for
people.
sure.
Um, and that over a short amount of time, he's able to receive love.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
think also I've always worked with animals from a young age, but I think horses in particular are such they feed off your energy a lot. And so one thing that was surprising is just like the bond you create with these horses and kind of the way that they flow with you. So I had, a horse that I did individual training with, and if I was having a bad day, he was having a bad day. There wasn't, if I was having a good day, we had a great day. And just realizing that, and I think we forget how in tune animals are with us just because we can't speak their language. They speak our body language, which is, I think, even more of a tell sometimes than verbal words. And so just working one on one with the animals and seeing like in moments where I was anxious or sad or whatever, the horses are feeding off of that, and you can
Mhm.
feel it. Or in the moments where I'm really excited and happy, like they're feeding with that. And so I always knew that, but I think seeing that one on one is such a different experience as well.
That's really well said. It reminds me, I'm reading a book right now called Making Rounds with Oscar. And it's a true story about a cat who lived in a nursing home in Rhode Island. And it's written by the doctor who ran the nursing home, and at first was extremely skeptical. But the staff and residents at this nursing home said, Oscar knows when somebody is about to die, and
Oh,
would
yeah.
get
Yeah.
into the bed and just stay with that person.
Mhm.
And like you just said, animals are picking up on stuff that we don't see, we don't notice, and um, feed off us. Or in this case, it seems that he was, in a way, almost comforting these people. And there are story after story about individuals and what happened when he would go and be with them. But
Yeah.
so one question I have for you is there somebody that you look up to who inspires you, a heroine or hero? Anybody come to mind?
Oh, I think there are so many people. I think for sure, even just the owners of the finca that I was just at in Spain, they both of them are foreigners and they moved to the island and started this whole thing. So it's like they had all odds against them and they had this dream of wanting to help the animals. And even with, everything that could have gone wrong and every no they could have gotten and did get, they turned it around and they made it happen. And so it was such a
Mhm.
beautiful story to see. Um, yeah, so I'm very grateful to have met those people and to have been able to kind of have them as mentors for a period of time. It was really cool to see.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So what is next for you?
Next for me, right now I'm in Puerto Rico just on vacation for a little bit, and then I'm going home to see some friends and family, and then I'm actually going back to Spain, to the finca again for 3 months. Um, so I'm going to stay there for 3 months and just continue working with the animals there, and then I actually got accepted into a rescue in Morocco for 3 months, working with dogs and cats.
Wow. So maybe I missed it, but what is the finca? And were you there on your way to Tenerife?
So the finca is the horse sanctuary in Tenerife.
Oh, okay. And what
Yeah,
is
that's
what does finca stand for? I don't know that term.
Finca can mean estate or farm. It's like the Spanish word for farm, kind
Okay,
of estate, however you want to call it. Yeah.
got okay. Um, what are, if you have them, long-term goals?
Yeah, definitely. I think right now, with traveling full time, kind of my goal is to just continue going to different animal sanctuaries, helping, learning how they do things, spreading the word, kind of things like that growing and along the way. But long term, I do want to open my own sanctuary at some point.
Mhm.
I have talked to a lot of people down here in Puerto Rico about starting one for the dogs and cats because there's just so many that need help, that need rescuing. So eventually, my long term goal is to set up a community space, kind of like where I was staying and all the ones I'm going to continue going to help the animals and help the people too. While, they're helping animals. I think it's a cool thing where there's like this background of yes, we're helping the animals, but it's so much deeper than that. Every person walks away with such a bigger view of life too. So I think that's beautiful. So that's the long-term goal, is to just keep helping, keep working, and eventually open my own thing to be able to do so.
And I really like the way you're talking about it, Lindsay, which is that when we're helping the animals, there's also this atmosphere, I think, where humans are being helped too. It's
Mhm.
back and forth. It's not, people have sometimes said to me over the years, well, don't you care about people? And I think, well, it's possible to care about both at the same time. It's
Yeah.
not an either or proposition. So, and
Yeah.
you are learning that firsthand, and there is this community. And especially when you're doing the kind of work you're doing or the kind of work I do, advocacy for animals, it can be heartbreaking when you see an animal like you saw some come in who had been injured. And I've certainly seen that, or just reading or watching videos. And it can be disheartening. Having that community is what I think helps us to say, okay, I may be feeling down right now, but I've got somebody else here who's going to lift me up. And
Yeah.
it goes like that all the time, whether it's an animal lifting me up or another human. So,
Yeah.
and then I might be in that position for someone
Yeah.
else. Yeah,
Yeah, I think if you don't, I think there's always this view of like, well, what about the humans? It's like, of course, but if you can't find love for animals, then I think it's harder to love humans. I think the way that my eyes have opened in loving animals and caring for animals has opened my way that I'm kind to my fellow human beings. It's easy to say hi to a stranger, it's easy to be kind, but do you have it deep enough in your soul to also care about, the little dog on the street or the little bug crawling on your table? Like, that's true love and compassion, when you can care not just about human beings but about every living creature that is on this planet.
right. The end to speciesism, where
Yeah.
we put ourselves at the top and then, everybody, all the other non-human animals are expendable. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
anything else you would like the people who are going to be listening to this to know about you?
Um, well, I do have one thing that I want to say about the Tenerife Horse Rescue. They are launching the Animal March in March, which is kind of a challenge for people to run. I think the conversion would be like 2 miles a day. And there's a bunch of people who are doing it. And if you go on their website, you can sponsor people's runs. So I'll be doing it. So 2 miles a day. I'll have like a fundraiser and everything, and you can sponsor them. And then all the money goes back to the finca, to expanding, to the animals, to helping out. So I'm really excited about that mission. We just posted the campaign video last week. So I'm really, really excited about that.
Was that the Instagram?
Yeah, I think that one
That
was
was
on Instagram.
beautiful. And I will be posting the link to Tenerife Horse Sanctuary, when I post this. So it'll be both on the website, it will also be in YouTube. So,
Awesome. Yeah.
and then I'm gonna get this to you and you'll post it wherever you want.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Well, I appreciate that, because my last question was going to be, is there anything else you would like to add? And you already have, which is that you are going to be doing this fundraiser. So anyway, thank you so much for being part of this. It is wonderful to meet you. I hope I get to meet you in person, maybe when you're visiting your aunt.
Yeah,
That would
definitely.
be wonderful. But I will be really interested to hear how things are going for you. And I'm sure Teresa will clue me in.
Yeah, definitely. We'll stay in touch and we will definitely meet down the road at some point.
I hope so. Thank you so much.
So
Enjoy
much.
the rest of your time with your grandmother in Puerto Rico, and good luck to you, and kudos to you for the work you're doing. It's
Well,
it's
thank you.
inspiring to me.
Yeah, you
All
too.
right.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thanks. Bye bye.